Now, imagine a guy who loses something of yours and then has the gall to come to you and go like, you want to go find it? That is who we're talking about today and more. So, let's call him Lip, okay? Now, I met Lip at this private meetup, which I went to for years, by the way. And one day, he comes in late, which will become a hallmark of his. And now, let me quickly describe how he looks like. Okay? He comes in, balding guy, unfit, big spectacles, baggy shirt, shorts and slippers, and a voice that screams no confidence. Okay, so he comes in and he lets the door close, and then he goes like, Exa, I lost your game on the bus. And then all of us are just like, and I remember the game was Coconuts, a Korean game that just came out. Okay, so he's just standing there, and then we'll pause, right, waiting for a follow-up, and then he goes, I kid you not, you want to call and ask if the game is at the bus or not. And then the guy is just wide-eyed, mouth agape, and then goes, what do you think? And he goes, oh, okay, I call. So he goes in the kitchen to make a call. Very quickly, just to let you know, the bus he's talking about is 6767, and it goes on the east side of the country to the west side. If you were to take it both ways, full, it's almost 3.5 to 4 hours long, depending on the time. Okay? Now, he comes out and then he goes, oh, good news. They found the game at the back of the bus. What time you want to collect? And then the guy looks at him and then goes, I collect. And then he goes, okay, I collect next week. So, somehow we still end up gaming together, awkward as it is. And then for the evening session, because these sessions usually go from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. with a dinner break. So we're playing the evening session, right? We play this game, I can't remember what it's called, but pretty bad. And you have to take tokens to get points, and then everyone will put back all these tokens. There's a lot of tokens. Alright? Everyone will be doing this, right? And then he just sits there, doing nothing. So the guy who gains, he loses, right? At some point, turns to him and goes, very free, He turns to look and just looks at him, and then the guy goes, help lah! And then he's like, but I help also. No, you're doing already what? And then the guy just stares in, like, and then he goes, okay, I help. And then meekly put 1 or 2 pieces. Okay? So I'm already, horrible impression of this guy. At some point, game finishes, right? We all go home. And then we go down, usually we'll split our own ways. And then I start to notice, this guy walks the same way as me. Okay, small talk. And then we get to the same train station. Okay. And then we take the same direction of the trains. So there's awkward silence. And then we get to my stop. I'm about to get off, and then he is about to get off. And then I go like, oh shit, this is going to be a regular thing, The second time I remember playing with him is this game called Rococo. Now, in this game, you're a tailor to King Louis and his nobles for a party, making dresses and suits. Okay? So at some point, he has to choose, right, between a red dress and a green dress, with different resources needed to make them. He takes the red dress, right? The person beside me takes a turn, I take a turn, and then this person takes a turn. Now that person took a resource he needed. And then he immediately goes, I think I want the green dress instead. So he starts to switch. And of course, everybody gets like, hey, no, you cannot just change your turn after the fact, right? He's like, why cannot? I mean, doesn't it affect you all what? Then someone rightfully points out, the only reason you're doing that is because he took the resource you need to make the dress. You cannot see his turn then change, right? Then you go like, okay lor. It's like literally caught hand in the cookie jar, then still blame you, So after this, I am done with this guy. So done with this guy. So much so I go to the host and say, please, can I don't game with him? Now, host is very nice, and I doubt anything will come of it. So I start to do things by myself, which is, one, the WhatsApp group usually will have a list of games that say they were going to be played, right? What happens is that the hot new game will come out, and then usually he will be like, I want to play this game, I want to play this game. So I'll just join the second one, which is not my first choice, but fine, as long as I don't game with him. But what will happen? That game usually is quite long, and then they need to start on time. So he's late all the time, right? So he'll come in, and then the game already started. So I'm in the second game, and then he comes in late, and then the host will go, hey, come, you take my seat, you join this game. And I'm like, motherfucker, And then most people will be like, hey, no, I don't want you to just sit down and do nothing. He's like, oh, okay. And he sit down, the host just watches. And I'm just so uncomfortable at this point. So much so that instead of coming from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., I would just come during 1 p.m. to evening time 5. So I'm playing half a session only, which is fine. But like I say, more often than not, I find myself gaming with him. And then sometimes when he doesn't turn up, it doesn't matter because I'm so afraid he joined the session, right? That I don't book the evening session. So I can't even stay in the evening. So at some point, it gets so uncomfortable for me, I don't enjoy the sessions anymore, to the point I just keep giving excuses, saying that, hey, you know what, I'm busy. And then at some point, I just mute the group and stop going. And that's just sad, but that's how it ended. Well, next time, we'll talk about a guy who is the most competitive gamer I've ever played with. And somehow he has a girlfriend who's equally as competitive. And then they argue in public. You want to hear about that guy, which will be a multi-parter. Come back next time. Till next word.